Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Hope you're having a great week. It's beautiful weather this weekend. We can all go outside and enjoy the wonderful creation that God has given us. So even though you're stuck at home, you can still have lots of fun outside. Theo.
Oh, I still haven't put stairs in, but good morning, Sister Krystal and everybody. Hello, CrossKids.
Good morning, Theo.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm wonderful today. How are you?
Good. I've been running around the yard outside because it was raining all week, but now it's so nice and sunny out. I love it.
Me too.
Yeah.
I love being able to go outside.
Uh-huh.
So today we're going to be learning about a new princess.
Oh, who's that?
Let's see if you can guess who the princess is, Theo.
Okay.
So...
Little Mermaid.
No.
Okay.
So she had some mean sisters.
Uh-huh.
And there's a glass slipper.
Uh-huh.
Do you know who it is?
Uh-huh.
Who is it?
Is it Cinderella?
What do you guys think? Yes, it is Cinderella.
Yay,
Good
I got
job.
it right. What do I get now?
High five. Or high paw.
Okay.
We're going to talk about Cinderella today. Do you know the story of Cinderella?
Yes, I do.
Would you like to share the story with all of our friends?
Okay. Hang on. Let me get some. Always got to get stuff. I got props back here. And, okay, hang on a second.
Okay.
Once upon a time at Disney again, there was a family, and there was a mom and a dad and a daughter. And like all Disney movies, someone had to die. So the mom died, and the father, he remarries this lady, but she wasn't a nice lady, but he didn't know she wasn't a nice lady, so he married her anyway. And she had 2 daughters, so now there's 3 daughters, and then the guy, and then the lady, and then the guy dies. I think he went to war or something, I don't know. He died. And then, so now it's just the evil stepmom and the 2 evil stepdaughters. So the stepdaughters were super mean to Cinderella, and they made her do all these chores. She would have to wash the clothes and feed them and cook and sweep the floor and do all the cleaning and all that stuff. They were super mean, and they would boss her around, and it wasn't any fun for Cinderella, but she had nowhere else to go, so she had to do it anyway. So one day, there was this ball at the palace, and the prince was going to find someone to marry, so everyone was going to go. So Cinderella wanted to go to this ball, and she had all her friends come over. She was like, la, 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 la. And that was like the call for the friends. And her friends were all these little rats and birds and bunnies and chipmunks and squirrels and all this stuff. And they started to make her a dress. Is that right? Yeah. Did she pay them? Was this like free labor? I have a problem with this story if the rabbit had to work for free. Okay, we're good. Okay, so they made her the dress, and then the evil stepsisters came in and they ripped it up because the mom was like, she's not going to no ball. So Cinderella was crying. I am crying because I can't go to the ball that I really wanted to because they tore up my dress. And then suddenly this fairy godmother came down, and she was all like, oh, don't worry, I will magically let you go to the ball. And she said, bippity boppity boo, boo, boo. And the mop started to dance, and there was brushes cleaning the floor, and then Mickey Mouse came in. What? That's the wrong story? Okay. And then, hang on. Ugh. Let's see. She was doing, where are we? Pumpkins. Okay. So she turned the pumpkin into a carriage and the mice into horses. Gus. I love Gus. He's so funny. And she was Cinderella's friend. And then they go to the ball and they're dancing. And she was dancing. And then the prince was dancing with her. He noticed her. He was like, "Whoa, look at that pretty dress that the fairy godmother made her." He didn't know that, though, the fairy godmother. And then Cinderella remembered the fairy godmother told her when the clock strikes 12, this is midnight, Eastern Standard Time, that she had to run home. Otherwise, everything was going to turn back to normal. The pumpkin would turn back into a pumpkin. And so the clock started to strike 12, and Cinderella's running away. And she ran down the stairs, and her glass slipper fell off. So she got away, and then the prince found the glass slipper, and he searched the whole town for the person that fit the glass slipper. And he went to Cinderella's house, and he put it on her foot, and he was like, "Oh, it's you!" And they got married, and I think that's at the end. The end.
Thank you, Theo, for telling us the story of Cinderella.
You're welcome.
Cinderella is my favorite princess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love how she has her animal friends and how even though when her stepsisters are mean to her, she's still kind and loving to them, and she does what's right no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the story of Cinderella.
That's great.
And in our story today, our Bible character, we're going to learn how she's a very loyal friend and how she stays and helps her mother-in-law even though she doesn't have to.
Oh.
Yeah, and how brave she was and kind.
Okay.
So Theo, what are some things you like to do with your friends?
Like play outside or have races because I usually win because I'm super fast. I like to play catch. I like to play forage for food. And yeah, why?
I bet you're really good at catch because you can jump so high.
Super good at catch. But little arms, though, that does make it kind of tough.
Well, in our story today, we're going to be talking about a woman who was a really great friend. She was loyal, and she was brave, and she was kind. And she's a lot like Cinderella was.
Okay.
Her name is Ruth. But to start with the story of Ruth, we have to go way back because some stuff happened before we meet Ruth. There is a woman named Naomi, and her husband's name was Elimelech, and they lived in the town of Bethlehem.
Her husband's name was what?
Elimelech.
Elimelech.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And they lived in the town of Bethlehem. So there's a famine in the land. And Elimelech and Naomi decided that they were going to leave Bethlehem and go to another country, Moab.
Oh.
And they were going to go live there because there was food.
Okay.
So Elimelech and Naomi, they left.
Elimelech.
They moved to Moab. And while they were there, they had two sons, Mahlon and Chilion.
Oh.
Well, while they were living in Moab, Elimelech died.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. We don't know, the Bible doesn't tell us why he died, but he died.
Okay.
And after that, Mahlon and Chilion, they grew up and they both get married. Well, some years pass after they've been married, and both Mahlon and Chilion die.
Oh, no.
I know, poor Naomi. First her husband and now her sons. Well, Naomi hears that the famine back in Israel, in Bethlehem, where she used to live, is gone. The food's back, and everyone's doing a lot better. So she decides it's time to go back home.
Okay.
And her two daughters-in-law, they want to go with her. And their names are Orpah and Ruth. Orpah
and Elimelech.
That was her husband's name, yeah.
Okay.
So Orpah and Ruth start traveling with Naomi back to Bethlehem. And on their way, Naomi turns to them and she says, you guys don't need to come. There's nothing for you in Bethlehem. Why don't you go home and stay with your families? You'd be a lot better off. Ruth says, nope, I'm staying with you. And Orpah says, no, I'm coming with you. And again, Naomi says, no, this wouldn't be good for you. Go back home.
Oh, no.
Because back then, if a woman's husband died, Theo, then they would marry the brother.
Okay.
right? To keep that family line going.
Uh-huh.
But Naomi was old, and so she wasn't going to have any other kids. So if Orpah and Ruth went with Naomi, then they most likely were going to be alone for the rest of their lives. So again, Naomi tells them, no, go home. You're better off. Go back to your families. Find someone from your country to marry and just forget about me.
Okay. What'd they do?
And Orpah said, okay.
Uh-huh.
But she was so sad about it. Her and Naomi, they were crying. You know, there was tears and there was snot and they were really upset.
What?
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
Gross.
And they gave each other hugs and they left.
Okay, I love hugs.
And was that okay for Orpah to leave Naomi?
Bye, Orpah.
What do you think, Theo? Do you think that was okay for her to leave?
Yeah, shoo.
Well, yeah, it was okay. Like, Naomi gave her permission. She was encouraging her to go back.
Yeah.
And sometimes that happens with us when we have friends. We might have a friend and either they move away or we just start liking different things.
Yeah.
And so it's okay if you're not friends with them anymore or if for some reason they're not friends with you.
Uh-huh.
That happens. But Ruth, she stayed with Naomi. And she said, no, Naomi, I'm going with you.
Yeah.
Wherever you go, I'm going. Wherever you live, I'm going to live. Your people, the Israelites, are going to become my people. And your God, he's my God. So Ruth believed in Naomi's God, the one true God, the God that we serve.
Mm-hmm.
And she stayed with Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was that okay too for her to stay with Naomi?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a yes.
Well, you were absolutely right there, Theo.
Yay!
It was good for her. So sometimes we have friends that we shouldn't be friends with anymore.
Uh-huh.
It's just time for us not to be friends anymore. And then there's some friends that you're going to stay with and they're going to encourage you and you're going to encourage them.
Mm-hmm.
Just like in the story of Cinderella, right? Cinderella is a lot like Ruth.
Yeah.
When Cinderella marries the prince, she leaves her evil stepsisters.
Uh-huh.
Now, that wasn't a tearful goodbye or anything.
No, they were mean.
They were mean to her. And sometimes there are friends that you need to leave behind. You need to say goodbye to because they're not good friends. They don't encourage you to read your Bible. They don't encourage you to do godly things and make good choices. Or they're just mean to you too. You know, they might say hurtful things or be bullies. But sometimes we have friends who stay with us through everything.
Like Ruth.
Like Ruth. So Ruth and Naomi, they go back to Bethlehem. And when they're in Bethlehem, Ruth decides, I'm going to go get us some food.
Okay.
So back then, they didn't go to the grocery store to get food.
Where'd they go?
They went out to the fields. And if you didn't have a husband or a son who took care of you with the food, the women would go and they would pick up the food after the harvesters. It was kind of for the poor.
Okay.
So if you didn't have a lot of money, that's where you'd go to get your food.
Got it.
So Ruth went to do that for her and Naomi.
Uh-huh.
And the Bible says she just happened to come to the field of a man named Boaz.
Kawinky dink.
Right. And when she was there, Boaz came to watch over his field and see that everything was going. And he saw Ruth and he said to someone, hey,
what?
Who's that?
Who are you?
And the servant, the man working in the field for Boaz said, oh, that's Ruth.
Oh.
She's a Moabitess. She came back with Naomi. And Boaz said, oh, okay. And he kept watching Ruth. He watched her as she came to work and he saw what a hard worker she was. So he told his men, you know, you can drop a little extra food. Like kind of just, it's
just
okay. So that
she, in there?
Yeah, when she's nearby so that she'll pick it up. So they obeyed and they did that. And Ruth kept going to Boaz's field. And Boaz just saw how faithful Ruth was to Naomi and what a hard worker she was. And Ruth, when she went home, she had told Naomi, oh, hey, so I met the guy that owns this field and his name's Boaz. And Naomi said, whoa, Ruth, he's a distant relative. You could marry him. I'm not going to have any kids, but if he wanted to, if he falls in love with you, then you could marry him. So Ruth went to Boaz and she asked him. Usually nowadays it could be either one, but a lot of the times usually a guy, they get down on one knee. Well, in this story, Ruth went to Boaz and she told him, I'm a close relative. Would you do this? Would you want to marry me and continue the line of Naomi's family.
Uh-huh.
And Boaz said, yes.
Yes.
But he said,
Uh-oh.
there's a relative who's closer,
Uh-huh.
a closer relative than I am, that he would get the choice first.
Whoa.
So he needed to go talk to him.
Okay, what's this guy's name?
The Bible doesn't tell us his name.
Oh.
So I don't know his name.
Elimelech.
Boaz goes to meet this relative.
Uh-huh.
And he tells him the situation about what happened to Ruth's husband and that he wants to marry Ruth.
Wow.
And the relative says, well, I can't do that. I can't buy back Elimelech's land. I don't want to marry Ruth. You can do it.
Okay.
And you want to know something, Theo?
What? Tell me.
Just like in Cinderella,
Uh-huh.
when Cinderella leaves the ball, what happens? What did you tell us happens?
The slipper.
The slippers falls.
The slipper.
So in Cinderella, that's a big part of the story, right? The glass slipper. Well, in this story with Ruth, there's a shoe.
What?
Yeah. So back then in Bible times, when there would be an agreement, someone would take off their sandal, their shoe, and they would give it to the other person.
Thank you.
To show that they were in agreement with this. So in our story, it's not a glass slipper. It's a dirty sandal. Oh, boy. But there is a shoe. And so the relatives give the shoe to Boaz, saying, yes, you may marry Ruth.
Aww.
And so Boaz goes back, and him and Ruth get married.
Yay!
And then they're able to take care of Naomi.
That's so nice.
Right? Yeah. So Ruth was a wonderful friend. She stuck by Naomi no matter what. Even though it didn't look like there was anything in it for her, she stayed by her friend. She was loyal to them. And because of that, she was rewarded. She was rewarded with a husband, and God blessed her and her life. So sometimes there are friends that God gives us that eventually we have to part ways. But sometimes we have friends that stay really close to us and that are there for you no matter what. And I hope you're that kind of friend. The Bible tells us in Matthew 19:26, with God, all things are possible. Something might look impossible with a friendship or with a situation in your life, but with God, it is possible. It looked like to Ruth, there was nothing for her, but she still believed in God. She still helped Naomi. She was faithful. She was a hard worker, and God blessed her for it. And God will bless you too if you are also a hard worker and you're doing what he tells you to do. So I thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome.
I hope you all have a fabulous week. Enjoy the nice weather out today.
Bye, kids.
Bye.